Okay, guys, gals, welcome to another speaker series. All right, here we go. All right, everybody, thank you for joining us for another Stonehaus Summit Series speaker. Today, we have the one and only Mr. Mike Ferry. Thank you so much for coming on. For those of you that have been living under a rock, maybe for the last decade or so or more, Mr. Ferry, Mike, he's probably one of the most, or is the most influential instructors when it comes to getting realtors to the next level. I'd like to have a huge thank you to Richard Park, which is one of his coaches, as well as Viet, who gets coached by Richard in our brokerage. Thank you again, Mike, for joining us today. It means a massive thing. It's a big thing. And as you can tell, I'm even a little bit nervous here. So thank you so much for joining us.
Well, first of all, thank you for that. And don't be nervous. We're just going to have a nice conversation and hopefully help all these great agents become better.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you so much. All right. So just to dive in, because I know you're a super busy gentleman, I would like to just ask you a couple different questions that I've had written down here. So one of them, should we be expecting a substantial decline in the amount of business that's being done over a long period of time, or is this going to be a short-term thing that we're dealing with right now?
Well, I think the most important thing for both of us to remember and to help them remember is that this is not 2007 to 2012. That was a critically important period of time in real estate because we watched the world economy collapse. This is not that. This is a health issue. We have your government, our government, we have scientists, we have medical people working on a solution. And, with some of the different restrictions that are placed, it seems that some of these things are now helping all of us move forward, which is good. I don't see a big decline in business. I think we saw a decline in business in the month of April because, we had a good January, February, first 2 weeks of March were okay. Then the door was slammed shut on most of us, and that caused April to collapse. So we're seeing May as being much, much, much better nationwide in our country, and the same I'm hearing in most of your country as we speak. Or I've said to a couple of people, the light at the end of the tunnel is getting brighter and brighter. And that's, of course, what we want. But here's some interesting things to think about. You're in the Langley area, correct?
Yes, part of us are in the Langley. That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. So what is the agent population in your area, approximately? Give me a guesstimate.
We're right around 50-50, but I would say between, elderly and younger, but I would say the average median age right now is in the mid 30s to 40s, somewhere around there.
So I didn't make my question clear. How many total agents in the area?
Oh, agents, I apologize. So there's 5,000 in the entire Fraser Valley. So there's 15,000 in the whole greater Vancouver, but 5,000 on the Fraser Valley.
So here's what I want all of your agents to think about. On any given day, because of this pandemic, I'm venturing to guess that less than 10% of the agents are actually working. So if we have 15,000 in the greater Vancouver through all the way over to Langley area, which, by the way, it's to me, one of the most beautiful places in the world where you folks live. I don't know if you know that Sabrina's children both live in Victoria Island. So we are in your country a lot when we're allowed to cross the border, which we can't at this time. But if you look at the marketplace, 15,000 agents, if there's 1,500 actually working aggressively, it's a lot because most agents have been mentally defeated before the market ever took a turn for the worse. Because the very thought of this particular disease was fearful, it was panicking, it caused a lot of people to freeze in place. So even though the number of transactions may be down a little bit, and it is down in most parts of your country and mine, a little bit, the number of agents participating in real estate is going down much faster than the number of transactions is. So the agents that are working and are dedicated to what they're doing are having a lot of success right now. I don't know the number for Canada. I'm keep trying to find out. But this year in the US, in spite of the hiccup we've experienced, we're going to still have between 4.2 and 4.5 million real estate transactions take place. That's any place from 8,000 to 9,000 commission checks are going to be distributed in our country. So my question for your agents and the country, the agents in the US is, how many of those do you want for yourself? We still have 7 good, solid months to succeed at a high level, knowing that our competition is hiding in the closet, under the covers, under the bed, and not working. So I think the future is very bright. I'm excited about the future.
And I'm an optimist like you as well, and I would agree 100%. Kind of moving from that, because I know a lot of agents are still working from home. A lot of brokerages haven't opened up yet, right? They're just in that transition stage. What type of schedule should I as an agent and everybody else as an agent be following to continue working from our home?
You know, it's interesting because I keep thinking of a real estate office as what I refer to as a safe haven. Okay, so a young man or woman in real estate can kiss their spouse goodbye, wave goodbye to the kids, go to the office and feel somewhat protected because you have friends, you have associates, you have leadership, you have your computers, you know, you have your files, your deals you're working on, you have Starbucks next door. You know, it's a very friendly environment. Well, now working from home, it was real friendly the first few days if you are a married couple or you've got a family. And the last 57 days have been a little tenuous because the stress of that home isolation has taken effect. So what I'm recommending is this: if you have a family in your home, at 8:30 in the morning, 5 days a week, have a family sales meeting. Bring the family together and say to the children or to your spouse, I need 1 hour from 9 to 10, uninterrupted time where I can do my job at the highest level to provide for the family. And then I'll take 20, 30 minutes to be with my spouse, my children, take care of the house, whatever the circumstances are. Then from 11 to 12, take 1 hour once again. So you do that 3 times a day. So, okay, how many agents do you guys have in the company?
Just over 100.
Okay, so can you imagine, okay, if 100 agents actually put in 3 hours a day of hard work, we would double the production of the company, okay? So I'm asking the agents that are working from home, which is still the majority of all agents, 3 1-hour blocks, 1 hour at a time, express to your family what you're trying to accomplish, and then take the time to be with it. Because see, the challenge we have today, distractions at home are much more costly than distractions at the office. And because there's more distractions at your home. And if you were a single man or a single woman and you're living by yourself, I mean, how many times can you talk to your dog and talk to the wall before you go cuckoo? So you really have to figure out how to block your time. It's a great question. Thank you for asking.
And so I love how you're kind of, and also bringing the family into working together, getting them on board and understanding that you really need to do work to be able to perform for the family as well.
Right.
So
100%.
that's huge. So to kind of shift a little bit, we get a lot of people asking us, do they anticipate prices are going to start dropping? We haven't noticed a huge price drop, if any, here in our area right now, because inventory has reflected that as well. So pricing has been pretty stagnant. But do you expect, if this is to carry on, and I agree with you and hope that it looks like it's coming to an end here shortly, things are starting to open up. But if this crisis does continue, do you expect, or even if it does get resolved, do you expect the pricing to fluctuate or come down?
You know, I kid with people about the fact that I was in a Catholic school for 12 years growing up, and I was a very bad student. I mean, I don't even try to disguise the fact that I was not a good student. My middle name is David, so I got D's on my report card, and I thought that the D's represented my name, so I was pretty excited about that. But I took one class in high school called economics, and it's the only class I ever got a good grade in. In fact, my grade was so good that they thought I must have cheated because I had never got anything above a D before. Well, but in economics, I understood certain laws that apply to economics, and they apply today to real estate, because you said it a minute ago perfectly. The inventory shortage is actually to our advantage at this time. Now, and most agents don't understand that. You have to think about the simple supply and demand. Okay, when the supply is limited, there is more demand, which stabilizes the prices. When the supply 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12 was through the roof, then of course the demand shrank and the prices went down. So I think that our our wonderful problem we have today, which is a shortage of inventory, is our greatest asset. Because we can sit with a buyer today and say, there's very few of anything for sale. So we better make a quick decision on what we're going to buy. But then we can say to our seller, because there's so few for sale, you're going to get more demand and a more stable price offering. So we can take the supply and demand problem we are dealing with and make it to our advantage. But most importantly, prices do not go down when okay, now I don't know what happened in Canada, but in the US, now picture this. Our greatest shortage was a shortage of toilet paper. Now think that one through for a minute, okay? All over the news in the US, oh my God, we have a shortage of toilet paper.
Same here, same here.
And I'm sure, nice to see you. And the same thing, I'm sure, in your country. Well, supply was high, okay? So therefore the prices kept rising. Excuse me, supply was low, so the prices kept going up. So I'm very comfortable that prices should not. Now, if an agent is listing a property for 30% over fair market value, the price is going to come down. Okay, no question about it. So let's not worry about prices.
That's perfect. And so leading into that, because obviously we're hearing these from our clients as well, right? A lot of the public is incredibly nervous, and we're hearing a lot of, we may consider doing something when the crisis ends, when this is all over with. What would you suggest, because I know you're the master of scripts as well, what would you suggest we say to these leads, and how do we handle these people that are kind of on the fence or waiting?
No, thank you. First of all, we always have to understand that human nature says we create excuses. Okay, watch, the number one New Year's resolution in America is I'm going to lose weight after the first of the year. So then they make that decision in November, then they eat nonstop through the new year, so they've gained weight. So, we know that excuses are part of human nature. So the excuse of the day, because we all have an excuse of the day, I want to wait till the pandemic ends. Well, see, here's the interesting part about it. That tells me that the agent probably has not pre-qualified that buyer or seller. They've probably not done their job to the degree they should. Because see, what I'm suggesting today is over here is bucket A. The people that are motivated to sign a contract to buy or sell real estate because they have to. So we're going to work with them very carefully. But we're going to accumulate all those names in bucket B. And then we're going to communicate every 7 to 10 days with all those people. Market statistics, market updates, neighborhood reports, keeping them aware. Because see, here's what we have to always understand. The public is really afraid. And it's understandable, because a friend of mine said to me last week, and think about this. You walk outside of your house and you pick up a pen and you could get a disease. It doesn't even make sense, but that's called reality. So the public is afraid. So our job with these people that want to do something in the future is to build a relationship based on giving them good information. So when the floodgate opens up, they all come back to the agent they have the best relationship with. But that takes a lot of communication, but it also takes a lot of understanding and kindness and empathy, because you want to push them into today. But if they're not motivated, they're not motivated. You can't change that. So I think it's really nothing more than good communication with those people.
And so to that point, I guess what I'm hearing as well is making sure that you're prospecting as another level, so you can really find those A bucket clients to make sure that you're still doing the business right now, but then also the consistent empathy and communication with those B clients that are waiting for the right trigger, whatever it is, for the news to say it's going to be better or whatever it may be, and then you be the agent of their choice when that situation happens.
And you're their choice because you've had the most good communication with them.
Love it. Love it.
And that's most agents fall apart, by the way, is right there on the communication.
Right. So kind of to that point, knowing that this social distancing and the different kind of lifestyle that we're living in right now will probably be around for a while. Even when they open up British Columbia, they're saying we got to still keep 2 meters. And I got a haircut yesterday and had to wear a gas mask basically and everything else. Who should I be prospecting to now? And if I can add to that as well, how should I be prospecting? Should I be still hitting up the phones, like door knocking? Is that okay? Well, if you could help me on that, that would be something I'd love to know about.
I told one of our clients yesterday, if you're going to knock on doors, you need 6-foot arms because you have to stay 6 foot away. So it's a challenge. Here's what's fun. This little thing called a cell phone 90 days ago was the enemy of most real estate people. And I used to listen to the stories. I don't like calling people. I don't want to disturb them. I don't want to upset them. I don't want to get too involved in their private lives. I don't like people calling me. Well, today, it's our greatest asset because everybody's home. So they answer the phone because, you can only talk to your spouse and each other so many times a day before you want contact with the outside world. And the public is picking up their phone probably 80% of the time today and answering. So first thing is, number one, you've got to be calling your past clients every 30 to 45 days because you want to keep them informed as to what's going on because they are your long-term future business. Second, your centers of influence. They're your future referral business. And you want to make sure that they are understanding what's going on because they're the ones that are going to give you referrals from this point forward. So those communications are critical. But here's the fun one, okay? In Langley, because I've been to Langley several times, there's some beautiful communities. So a husband and wife on Saturday morning leave their house to go to the mall and they see a real estate sign for sale. The conversation in the car is always the same. I'll bet our home is nicer than theirs. I'll bet we can get more than they get for theirs. I wonder where they're moving to. Now, see, those conversations don't exist today because they're not driving around, because they're home isolated. So now, if I pick up the phone and I talk to 15 to 20 people around all my listings, all my sales, or any of the company's listings and sales where agents are not doing the prospecting, you're going to talk to more people than you ever dreamed possible because you're bringing them good news. You're bringing them information about the neighborhood. You look like an expert. But then also, because technically you folks cannot call on an expired listing, the one pretty person you can call on is the for sale by owner because they are dead in the water because they rely on traffic through neighborhoods to have somebody come in and buy their house. That traffic doesn't exist today. So now the value I bring to a for sale by owner is way up here because I can bring them traffic that they can't get because the buy owner relies on people driving around to get those kind of contacts. Past clients, centers of influence, just listed, just sold, for sale by owners. Do it all by phone because it's faster and more efficient. Okay. Thank you. That was a great question.
And that answer perfectly leads into my next question. So we get them on the phone, somebody's interested. Now we're in the world of Zoom. Everything is virtual. It seems like face-to-face is gone away, which is just mind-blowing to me at this time period anyways. What does this mean going forward? Like, do we have to shift our business? Like, if you could help us out on that person, and if you notice your agents are, killing it on Zoom, or what are people doing next?
Well, I think most important, that for the last 2 years in the real estate industry in North America, the buzzword is the word disruptors. What are the disruptors? What is disrupting our business? And I keep saying, these are not disruptions. These are progress taking place, normal changes in the business, because everything is always changing. However, this pandemic is a bit of a disruption to our daily lives. So this communication tool we're using here. So this is my 137th webinar I've done 35 days. I've done 137 in 35 days, okay? So that's a lot. Now, picture this. If I could fly as fast as Superman, I could not do this in the same period of time. So this technology, which is what agents have to learn to understand today, is the future of our business. So watch this example. It's Saturday morning. I've got a showing appointment with a couple. They want to buy a $500,000 property. I've lined up 5 or 6 properties to show them. They appear at my office at 10 o'clock in the morning. I say to them, I'm committed to spending as much time today as necessary to help you find the home of your dreams. Or we can take the next 30 minutes and we can look at all 6 homes virtually. And then you can decide on the 1 or 2 you want to see, which would you prefer. They're going to say, well, let's save the time. So this technology, whether it be Zoom or FaceTime or Skype or whatever we choose to use, is the future of speeding up the process for buyers and sellers. See, we as an industry are antiquated and old-fashioned. We think that people like to be with us face to face all the time. And that is a fallacy that's, it's as old as dirt. So the virtual side, and this is the catch, I think, on the virtual side, understand that technology doesn't always work as well as we want. See, like right now, my screen looking at you is frozen. I'm assuming you can hear me, but the screen is frozen. It's called part of what technology is all about. And it'll unfreeze in a minute, and then we'll continue as we have been going. You have to learn to work on camera if you're going to understand this technology. Okay? I mean, watch. I hope everybody can see you, because watch, sharp, well-dressed, big smile. I mean, you're the kind of person that's going to succeed up here because of this technology. Okay? So on the first couple of these I did, how old are you? I'm asking a personal question.
I'm 36.
All right, so I'm 75, so I'm more than double your age. So on the first couple of these that I did, I said to my wife, Sabrina, who is Canadian, by the way, I said, sweetheart, I can't do this. I'm 75. My God, my gray-white hair, all the wrinkles, my 3 chins, everything shows. And here's what she said to me, get over it and keep going. So I did. Well, you have to get used to presenting on camera. So I'm going to ask your agents to consider the following. If they role play and practice scripts, which I'm hoping they do it virtually on Zoom or FaceTime versus face-to-face or on the phone, because they have to get used to understanding this is up front, close and personal. We can't hide anything when we're doing what we're doing right now. So it's a whole different medium that we're going to be using. I have to tell you, I think in the next 6 months to a year, 30–40% of all transactions will be done this way. It's just faster, more efficient, and better for buyers and sellers. So I hope that this transitional period we're involved in, the agents take advantage of it. It's really important.
And that's a huge thing as well, because I know you've been really based on prospect. So one of the new medians that you're really piping up is the fact that we really need to be learning how to do this and communicate better. And it's like the phone, but even more personal, right? So it's pretty awesome to think. All right, so to kind of switch gears a little bit, I'm sure you've heard this a lot of times, and I've had a couple of questions throw up on here as well, that many people think that the world, the economy, everything's kind of coming to an end, right? Is there a story, or is there something, obviously you've been around and you mentioned that you're in your 70s, so you've seen a lot of things firsthand. Is there anything that you've seen similar or worse that has happened in the past that we can maybe relate to, take heed from, as well as maybe give advice to our clients based on?
Well, we all know that the real estate industry operates on cycles, and those cycles are 5 to 7 year cycles. So I started in real estate at age 18. I'm 75, so that's 50 some years. So I've been through a lot of cycles. But if you can picture this, now, how long have you been in real estate first?
7 years.
All right. So, and of course, you're in what I call the danger zone. May I tell you why? Because the people that started after 2012 have never been through anything really bad before. So I'm glad you're still smiling, okay? Because, there's been a lot of deaths based on the economy, not the disease, because they don't understand the downturns. So in 1972, as an agent in real estate in Southern California, in the month of December, I had 3 transactions of mine close. 30-year fixed loan for the buyer, interest rate was 18.5% on each one. Now, can you imagine telling one of your buyers, well, we had a little change in the rates yesterday. They went from 3.7 to 18.5. You would see buyers flying away from you. But in 1973, the interest rates went to 21%. And we thought the world was coming to an end, but it didn't, because it never does. 1987, I don't think you were probably born yet, 1987, we had a day called, Yeah, you were three. Isn't that great? We had a day called Black Monday, the biggest stock market crash in the history of our country in one day. We thought the world was ending. It wasn't, okay? But how about this? 9/11, one of the most tragic days in the history of North America, in my opinion. The death and the destruction that took place because of that tragic situation. The East Coast from Toronto to Miami, Florida, they were petrified that this was going to happen in their cities. We thought the world was ending. It didn't. 2007 to 2012, just before you started. Man, that was mass destruction in real estate. Prices dropped 40, 50, 60%. Number of transactions dropped 50, 60%. The number of agents in the US went from 1.3 million to 700,000 in 18 months. Best thing that ever happened to the industry, okay? We thought the world was ending. It wasn't. Here's what I want the agents to understand. Yes, this is a terrible disease, and we hate to see that people lose their lives because of it. However, it's part of the cycles of life. And it's the cycles of economics when you have business change because of these types of cycles. Our world is not going to end. We're going to find a way to solve this problem. And I'm the universal optimist because my belief is this too shall pass. And it will pass. And I just want all of you folks in the company to be succeeding at the highest level as this thing progresses. It's not ending, okay? For a lot of us, it's just beginning. That's the good news.
And I love that. I definitely see the massive opportunity that is out there if played correctly, like you're saying. So that actually is a perfect lead into my next question. So should our agents, should they lower their expectations for the balance of the year? Should they be reformulating how many deals they should be doing? What's your perspective on that?
Almost every agent has points in a year where they go through a slump. And a slump can be any place from a couple of days to a couple of weeks to a couple of months. So let's just say that for March and April, the agents had their slump for the year. So now we have May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. We have 7.5 months to succeed. So I'm going to say, and I'm saying this emphatically, do not drop your expectations. Raise your standards. Raise the standards of expectation, okay? Put a little pressure on yourself to perform. You're in home isolation. Take a look at your skill level. What are you missing? What are you not good at? What a chance to improve the quality of your business and your life. Never lower your expectations. That is for losers, and we don't have losers on this call. Fair enough?
I love that. I love that. So, I mean, it's completely obvious to me that you have an incredibly strong mindset. And how do you keep it so strong? How do you stop from the fear getting in? That so many agents, even experienced agents, are just frozen right now with their head in the sand. How do you stop that?
Well, yeah, I believe in the thing called the power of choice. I choose not to let negative thoughts into my head. See, for example, I have not watched the news on TV in 45 years. I haven't read a newspaper in 45 years. I don't even know what they have. I don't know even what they put in the newspaper. I'm even hesitant to read about sports because all you hear is the team that you love the most lost. So that's no fun. So I'm a great believer in controlling what I let in. But then second is, I'm a fanatical reader. This particular book I have in my hand, it's called Leading an Inspired Life. It's just a wonderful book. Jim Rohn, R-O-H-N, is the author. I read every day. This little thing called an iPad, okay? When I was 36, it didn't exist, okay? Back when I was 36, we didn't even have computers. So that just shows you how dated I am. But a couple times a day, I'll take this iPad and I'll go on YouTube and I'll look for inspirational speakers, whether it be a Tony Robbins or a Brian Tracy or a Zig Ziglar. And I'll watch 10 or 15 minutes, and I'll do that a couple times a day. My wife says that I carry and wear an invisible, what we call negativity helmet, that you can't see it, but it just blocks all the negativity. So I work real hard because I have an obligation to myself and my family and my clients to bring a positive message to them. So it's a matter of training yourself as to what you're going to listen to and allow in. I've trained myself not to let it in. Somebody asked me this morning, you'll get a kick out of this. Somebody said, do you have negative thoughts? I said, of course, we all do. Well, how do you deal with it? I just look at myself and say, stop. So a negative thought comes into my head, I stop. And as soon as I say stop, I flush that out and move on. So it's a matter of the choice you make every day. I'm 75. I've only got 15, 20 years left of being productive. I don't want to live it in a negative lifestyle, for goodness sakes. There's too much fun to have and too many great people to meet and too many things to do. So it's just a choice. Thank you. I'm glad you asked that.
I love that. I absolutely love that. All right, so that's the end of the questions that I have written down.
Okay, good.
Come up with here. Do you mind if I ask you a couple questions? Do we have a couple minutes left?
Please, yeah, let's do that.
Just from here. So I have, oh yeah, that's actually, I'll just pop on one up here. So I have a question. If it's possible to ask, okay, what steps can one take as a new agent and more importantly, as a new immigrant with maybe some language barrier to get established?
You know, I deal with this in Canada, San Francisco, New York, Miami, Chicago, Vancouver, obviously, the greater Toronto market, Montreal, Ottawa. The language barrier is an issue. You know, you folks you've been one of the kindest countries in the world to let so many people come in, which is, I mean, it's a blessing in disguise. But I tell our clients in Canada that deal with the language problem that they have to figure out how to solve that problem. And one of the solutions is to go to a simple website, because there's a website called accentreduction.com. And I recommend this all the time. So you go to accentreduction.com and it'll say, where do you live? I live in Vancouver. What language do you speak? I'm from India. I speak that language. What language do you want to learn? It'll say, I want to learn English. And then they will give you in your marketplace people that are coaches, speakers, trainers, and teachers on how to develop your new language pattern. So I recommend accentreduction.com. But for a new agent, there's 4 things they have to do. They have to start building their database. They have to do that on day one. Even if they're an immigrant, they still know a certain number of people in their community. Number 2, they have to learn to preview property. And today it's all done virtually. You have to know neighborhoods, prices, types of homes. That's how you're going to become good at listing property. Number 3, they better start prospecting, even though it's hard, because the language barrier often does get in the way of the prospecting. So we have a wonderful, this was such a classic. We have a wonderful client in San Jose, up in Silicon Valley, named Barry Chang. And Barry Chang gives it away that he's not an American Indian from any standpoint. So Barry Chang calls me one day, and he's a 75 to 80 deal a year producer. And he said he picked up the phone and he started calling for sale by owners. And, you know, heavy accent. Hi, the Barry Chang with Intero Real Estate Services. And the guy says, excuse me, I already have a gardener, and hangs up on him because his company was, I think it was called blank Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate was the name of his company. So those kind of things are going to happen if you prospect. They happen to me when I prospect. I mean, when I call people to talk to about getting involved in our coaching, people get mad and hang up on me all the time. It's part of life, okay? So watch, preview, build your database, start prospecting, and then start learning the scripts. And they can go to my website. All the scripts are free, okay? They got to learn the scripts. That gives them the confidence to go out and do their job. That was a great question.
Thank you. So one last question, if you don't mind. I know I'm keeping you on a little bit longer than promised. A lot of the agents are asking and curious, how do we win listing presentations now? How do we market? How do we differentiate ourselves from the rest of the competition out there in this current situation and moving forward from there?
Well, first of all, if they are adapting to what you and I are doing here, which is a virtual presentation, if all of them would just take their phone and take a picture of the screen with you on it. And I'm saying that for a very important reason. If they will duplicate for the men that look, and for the women a professional look and attire. It starts with that. They're going to win. We had this email come in. This would be in February, just before the pandemic. One of our clients said, Mike, you're not going to believe this. I go on my 7 o'clock listing appointment, dressed like you are in a suit and tie, very professional. I knock on the door. Seller opens the door, said, come on in. Can we sign the paperwork? He hadn't made any presentation, just come on in. So he smiled and said, yes. He had sent out the pre-listing package. They took out the contract. They signed it, handed it to him. Took like 3 minutes. So now he says to them, I'm just curious. You said you were interviewing other agents. Have you already talked to them? They said, well, 45 minutes ago, a man knocked on the door. He had on shorts, a golf shirt, and a baseball hat. We thought he was a gardener. When he said, I'm in real estate, we said, no, thank you, and we closed the door. We opened the door and saw your professional attire and made the decision. So watch. Dress up. Be a professional. Keep that smile on your face. You know, for the ladies, put on your makeup. You're going to the big dance, and the big dance is a listing presentation. Practice doing it virtually. You know, I'm watching you. You're smiling. You're nodding your head. I mean, I hope they take a picture of this so they can duplicate what they're seeing with you today, because it's a real tribute to all of us. Okay.
Thank you.
You're going to get a kick out. May I give them my email address? Would that be okay?
100%. That would be magical.
Okay, because a lot of people have questions after we're done. So my email is very simple, mike.ferry, and it's ferry like a boat, mike.ferry@mikeferry.com. So you'll get a kick out of this. At the 35-minute mark on each webinar, my assistant, Lori, sends me a note, and she goes, it's time to hang up. But before I say that, I want to say thanks also to Vulcan7, who is, I believe, on this call with us today. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, I see him.
Good. I hope all of you pay attention to the fact that they are here 100% to assist what you and I do. Ren Jones, who is the founder of Vulcan7, has been a client of mine for over 30 years, been in coaching with us for 30 years. And we're just thrilled that he's participating with his great staff on all these little webinars we're doing. So if I don't get off this call, my assistant is going to shoot me. So I'm going to say, first of all, thank you for the great professional approach. Thanks for the questions and the enthusiasm. I hope that all of them have a great May and great June, and we'll see you very soon, okay?
Thank you so much on behalf of the 106 agents that were on here. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Trevor from Vulcan, I see you over there. If you could reach out to me a little bit later, I'd love to be able to support you guys and see what we can do there. It means an amazing thing for everybody. Thank you, Mike Ferry, for being a part of this summit series. It's been awesome. Thank you again. I won't take any more of your time. Have an amazing day.
See you soon. Bye-bye.